Salam and hello, everyone. My name is Najma Osman, and I'm the Policy Associate at CARE Washington, where I lead our policy work as an organization. I'm here today with a special guest, Tran Dinh from the Northwest Justice Project, as a part of our Housing Know Your Rights campaign interview series. And the goal of this campaign is to provide entry-level housing rights information to our community members about their rights in Washington state. So without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Tran, and the work that you do at Northwest Justice Project?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Tran, and I am an attorney at the Sheer Housing, Consumer Employment Education and Reentry Unit. As an attorney, I focus on housing and consumer cases, and some common cases that I take on in the housing realm include requesting repairs, getting orders of limited dissemination to remove eviction history from rental reports, or disputing move out or damage charges. So those are just some of the types of cases that I work on.
And from your experience, what are some of the most common issues you've seen tenants face?
Yeah, some of the most common cases tend to be disputing move out charges. So if there's repainting or carpet replacement, those types of cases, and then also disputing rent arrears in terms of how much rent you actually owe to the landlord. Sometimes there'd be a lot of cases about negotiating move out terms. So when the tenancy ends, such as setting up a repayment plan. And the third type of cases that I see a lot is habitability, or getting a reasonable accommodation for yourself or for another family member.
And in simple terms, can you explain what the Residential Landlord Tenant Act is and how it protects the rights of renters and how it protects against housing discrimination?
Yeah, so the Residential Landlord Tenant Act basically governs the whole relationship between the landlord and tenant, from the signing of the lease, from the screening to the signing of the lease, until how the relationship is going to end. So it has rules essentially that both tenants and landlords have to follow. The rents, for instance, the renters have the right to proper written notice from the landlord for entry, for repairs, or any notice of rent increase or notice of tenancy termination. So like I said, it governs the relationship from the beginning to the end. And how does it protect against housing discrimination? Essentially, landlords must follow these rules or they are violating the law. They cannot discriminate against the tenant's source of income. For instance, if the tenant is receiving rental assistance, or if they have a voucher, then the landlord must work with the tenant to accept the rental assistance, or they, essentially must have exercised due diligence to comply with the processes. So that's one of the ways that it protects against housing discrimination.
And knowing that language barriers can often lead to housing exploitation and make dealing with abuses of authority difficult, what resources would you recommend to a renter who has limited English proficiency?
Of course, yeah, it's a big issue that us at NJP and Sheer also think a lot about. I think one big resource that I usually throw out to every person that asks is the Washington Law Help, and I'm sure that's included in the campaign as well. And it has publications with clear summaries of the tenants' rights, and it has translations to different languages. And the second thing I would say is consult with an attorney. Usually the legal aid programs in the state have access to interpreters and translators who will be able to assist. And thirdly, the housing authorities and the courts themselves, they all have language access plans. So if you are not understanding the documents in English, you can definitely request the documents in your language, or sometimes you can also request for interpreters or a caseworker who speaks your language.
And lastly, what are 3 things you think every renter in Washington state should know?
Yeah, this is hard, but I guess I can narrow it down to 3 things that I see are most helpful when I'm working on the case. I guess is try to submit repair requests in written form. If you have a text, an email, or even an online portal confirmation that you submitted the request. Second, if you are facing eviction, landlords are required to go through a mediation progress to negotiate with you if you decide to opt in. If the tenant doesn't want to go through mediation, then the landlord can just go towards eviction. But I highly recommend going through the mediation process, because it does give you more time to perhaps looking for new housing or prepare your eviction case. And also the mediator is a neutral third party who can perhaps potentially bridge the gap or assist with negotiating the move out to avoid eviction. And thirdly, kind of relating to the first tip, I guess, is document. Take all of your photos, keep records of all of the communications. If you paid for a security deposit, keep a record of that. So just the more documentation you have, the less headache you will likely have further down the line.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Tran. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thank you.